on antimicrobial resistance. You know, it's a very important topic, which I think is going to help us in dealing with resistance. It's from awareness to action. So without much taking our time, we are a bit late. So I would call upon the Principal Director, Dr. to come and introduce our guest speaker and make all the introductions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Fukeni. I'd like to start by greeting you first. A very good afternoon to all of you. I'm assuming that we may have part of our audience who are not veterinarians, because our invitation attempted to reach out to all those in the sectors that transact with veterinary services or veterinary medicine, so that we can try to discuss this issue of common interests, which links human and animal health, and to some extent the environment, the issue of antimicrobial resistance. And we are doing so as part of our discussions and in commemoration of the World Veterinary Day, which is already passed. World Veterinary Day is celebrated worldwide on the last Saturday of each April annually. We did that. I think those who attended the trade fair maybe could have attended some of the discussions which went on there. Those who read papers would have seen some articles that were written. Those who listen to the radio would have also heard us in panels discuss this very important issue, which is of current topical interest to us all. So we are probably concluding for this year. But personally, I wanted to request that we always mark World Veterinary Day as a day on which veterinarians can sit and choose topical areas of interest to highlight to the public why we exist as a profession, because we are still a small profession, but we are very important. And I think those who are vets know that. And I would like to request the profession, in all its entirety, the veterinary profession, that we hold this as part of our celebration of our pioneer Zimbabwe veterinarian, Dr. Dexter Chavunduka. And perhaps from next year we will start calling them Dexter Chavunduka Public Veterinary Lectures. I don't know whether I will get support for that, because we've been trying to set this idea up as part of our responsibility to the World Organization for Animal Health. In each country, they call upon the country's professionals, the veterinary professionals, to have an icon around which they can build a, trust and interest in any area that they would like to further. So if it is accepted by the profession, I'll put a request through the association to formalize this as part of the public lecture series in honor of Dr. Dexter Chavunduka, who was the first black veterinarian in this country, who passed on some few years ago. So having said that, I think my most important role at this point is to introduce our guest speaker. Our guest speaker is somebody I've known for a very long time. Actually, I know him from about 35 years ago, so we go back a long way. We started veterinary studies together in 1975. I don't want you to model my age. And we didn't meet for a very long time, but we came across again in 2006. By then, he was already a fledgling professional in the area of SPS. Those of you who know SPS is sanitary and phytosanitary systems, which are systems that are built around an international agreement which aims to assist countries to uphold interests in protecting their rights in terms of the health of animals, their human population, the human health, and the environmental aspects, environmental health, from risks that can arise when countries are trading with each other. So he's specifically specialized, he's a foodie in the area of food safety. So he was actually my mentor when I met him in 2006, which is about 10 years ago. We hadn't seen each other for quite a long time. And he met some of me that I'm able to use now in the area of food safety. And I'm quite grateful for that. He comes from a background of food inspectorate. I think he served for many years in the UK as part of the UK government food inspectorate. After that, he joined the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, where he worked until he came here. When he worked at the United Nations headquarters in Rome, he was responsible for spearheading the program of antimicrobial resistance, which became topical because of issues that are around the non-generation of new antimicrobials by multinationals. It's normally multinationals who have been responsible for picking up research ideas and turning them into products, into antimicrobial agents. And there hasn't been much of that happening for at least about 20 years now, and that's frightening. And I think much of that is what he will be talking about. And when he joined FAO, the sub-regional office in Harare, which is based in Harare, which serves 16 countries, that is all countries of the SADC region, plus Eritrea. He has been very instrumental in a number of programs that we've been carrying out. And I think not only is it because he knows me and we have a natural knowledge of each other, but he's such a person who has got such a serious sense of commitment about development of the continent in these terms. So I've got tremendous respect for Dr. Otto. And he has helped us a lot. He continues to be of much help, and I think we would not be fair to ourselves if we let people like this come and go without asking them to come and share with us some of the things that they know. It was not very difficult for me to convince him to come to give us this public lecture. And I'm grateful that he could find time to do that because he's quite busy. As you can tell, he serves not only Zimbabwe but 16 countries, and he's constantly on the move, walking in and out. But we are thankful that he's been able to find this time. So I hope that after the presentation, we can really try to engage him to see exactly to what extent we can further these ideas about this area that we are wanting to explore more in terms of playing our part as a country and playing our part as a profession in terms of mitigating the risks that are bound to arise if we allow anti-resistance to continue developing and fester. So I think it is my honor to invite you, Patrick. Please.
First of all, thank you very much, Dr. Shen Kuze, for the generous words of introduction. I'm excited. You've rightly said it wasn't a very difficult decision once you made a request for me to come and share these thoughts with the audience here. So the Dean of the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, Principal Director of the Department of Livestock and Veterinary Services, Dr. Desu Shokuzo Basolo, staff and students of the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine and perhaps other faculties who may be here, colleagues from the Department of Livestock and Veterinary Services and other government departments and agencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed a great honor and privilege to be invited to give this public lecture as part of the activities to mark the World Veterinary Day. This is especially so because the topic selected for this public lecture, antimicrobial resistance from awareness to action, is also the theme for the World Veterinary Day 2017. And for this, I'd like to thank the Department of Livestock and Veterinary Services and the university for making this possible. I'm aware, as the Principal Director has mentioned, that this event is part of other activities that the department has already carried out to mark World Veterinary Day. And for that, I'd like to heartily congratulate them for the success of those activities. I should say, have been invited to present this lecture at this August Institution of Higher Learning. Before an audience that includes practitioners, researchers, academicians, other professionals, and I would hope that there are some veterinary and other students here too. I think if they're here, I would consider this an especially special privilege to share my thoughts with them as the future leaders in the national, especially on a topic that I'm extremely passionate about. And it comes also at a time when the global threat posed by the emergence and spread of antimicrobial resistance is receiving unprecedented attention. They are definitely the future and will be at the forefront of the global efforts to combat the threat of antimicrobial resistance. Let me say from the outset that I hope that this is not just going to be a one-way interaction. I hope that this will be an interactive session and that I'll be putting out to you some ideas that I have on this topic, and that, you know, it will be an opportunity for us to exchange ideas and thoughts on the actions that can contribute to ongoing efforts to deal with antimicrobial resistance here in Zimbabwe, regionally and globally as well. And lest I forget, on behalf of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, I really would like to thank the University Administration and the faculty members for availing these facilities and making the necessary arrangements for this event, and look forward to continued collaboration of this nature in the future. So let me go straight to an outline of the presentation that I'll be giving this afternoon. I'd like to make a brief introduction of the subject and make some general comments about it, and then move on to address global developments, trends, drivers, and dynamics of antimicrobial resistance, emergence, and spread. And these are the ones that really provide the imperative for action to address antimicrobial resistance. And I'll then share with you some thoughts on some of the actions and interventions at the national, regional, and global levels that can combat antimicrobial resistance and then have a short session really on what I would like to call the need for a paradigm shift in the way that we do things. In other words, moving from the way that we have done business to what is popularly referred to as the One Health approach. And then after that, we'll have some conclusions and opportunity for some discussions. First, I'd like to say that this lecture is not a chapter and verse on antimicrobial resistance or the science of antimicrobial resistance. I have made some basic assumptions that we have all been exposed to information on antimicrobial resistance and its mechanisms for development and spread. Certainly in the last 2 or 3 years, there has been widespread coverage in the media, nationally, regionally, and globally on this very subject. It was not always the case that this was so such a prominent subject. For many years, I worked with others, lots of others on this topic without much interest or recognition. And it is only until, I think, 2015 that the momentum and the impetus really for action developed. And we are now riding on that wave of increased interest in the subject. And I think we should take full advantage, of the interest that there is at the moment to ensure that actions are taken, at local and national levels to address this looming threat to humanity, really. First of all, the topic itself, from awareness to action. When I first saw the theme of the World Veterinary Day, I kind of paused and I thought, is this saying what I read in it? Because if we say from awareness to action, it almost sounded to me that those who formulated the topic at the World Veterinary Association and the YP assume that awareness of AMR is now a fait accompli. And all that we need to do now is move on to action. And I reflected on this, and in particular, I reflected on some of the you see in that picture. That's Alexander, who first made probably the greatest medical discovery, of all time, the discovery of penicillin in 1928. And immediately, following the discovery of penicillin, Alexander Fleming was already quite concerned about the risks of resistance development. And one of his thoughts was that a thoughtless person living with penicillin treatment is morally responsible for the death of the man who succumbs to infection with penicillin-resistant organisms. And following that, went on to say that the ignorant easily undergoes himself and by exposing his microbes to non-lethal quantities of drug make them resistant. And this was in 1945 when he was giving his Nobel Prize lecture. He was one of 3 people who received the Nobel Prize medicine. Then it occurred to me that already, Sir Alexander Fleming and others were aware then that awareness in itself is such a fundamental part of addressing the issue of antimicrobial resistance. And I made my mind about the topic then and thought, yes, in fact, those who coined this theme are probably saying to us that it's such a fundamental part that it was there then and it's still there today as a really killer in the fight against antimicrobial resistance. And if you look at the timeline from then, 1928, until 2015, when the World Health That is the biggest decision-making body of the World Health Organization. And those the global action plan, there have been enormous efforts at raising awareness. It was only until this body endorsed this global action plan that that actions are stimulated, which has led to various initiatives now at global, regional, and national levels. And just remember that the period of time between 1928 and 1915, there was a big global war. That's the World War. And the year in which Sir Alexander received his Nobel Prize was the end of the war itself. And it is said that the discovery of penicillin actually changed the course of the Second World War itself. That is quite apart from the fact that subsequent discoveries in between that period of time, other new molecules has drastically improved survival. Talk about deaths from infections. These have been drastically reduced over this period of time. But as Professor Buster mentioned in her introduction, the unfortunate thing is that this period of time was also marked by a period of accelerated development of new molecules. But now, going back 30 years, this pipeline development of new antimicrobials has actually dried up. There are no new products coming on board, and we're basically dealing with all the old antimicrobials that have been developed, some going back 70 years, maybe going back 20 to 30 years back. Now, with those young veterinarians who are here, or those who are going to newly graduate from this institution, in this institution, I should say veterinarians and medical practitioners, if there are any here, institution with a toolbox, which you are really equipped with all the time that you've been here at this institution. And when I say a toolbox, I mean a physical toolbox. If you will be very lucky, I think you will be one, with all things from SUV. I mean the knowledge and skills that you have been equipped with during the time that you were here. Make decisions in terms of treatment, the right decisions in terms of the management of infectious diseases and other human and animal health risks. And all these antimicrobial agents, antimicrobial drugs, are a very, very important tool in this process that will leave this institution with. And I just want you to reflect on a vet or a medic without antimicrobial agents in that toolbox. What would they actually be? Probably not a vet, probably not a medical practitioner. And that comes obviously with the responsibility to protect the efficacy of what they have in place. And hopefully some of you will go on to work with research and development and break this pause, this great pause that there has been in the development of new products and molecules. And so when I went back on the issue of awareness, I decided that in the same way, you can look at this awareness as part of this toolbox as well, the toolbox of interventions, which is required to address antimicrobial resistance. And I'll say a little bit more about this in later parts of this presentation. So let me go on to talk about the whole developments, the trends, the drivers, and the trends and developments that present the imperative for action to address the looming threat, the existing and looming threat of antimicrobial resistance. And at the center of this is actually the human being. And so my first slide, which I always show, is that on population growth, because in everything that we are talking about on AMR and the global health security threats that are posed, the human being is at the very center of that. And one of the key developments is the global population growth, which is represented in this graph. As we speak now, the world population exceeds 7 billion people now. You will also see that the red part of those bar charts is population in developing countries, which is where the greatest rate of population growth is currently being seen and is likely to be seen for a long time to come. Combined with that, and in concert with the increase in global population, is the trend in urbanization. This is people moving away from rural areas into urban cities. It is happening to differing extents in different parts of the world and different cities. But this is a huge trend that is now going on globally, mostly to look for opportunities and jobs. And I'm sure that this is the case with Zimbabwe as well. And we have now globally a number of what are referred to as the mega cities with more than 10 million people living in there. Some of these exist in Africa. Lagos, for example, has almost more people than the whole of Zimbabwe. And Kinshasa has more than 3/4 of the population of this trend in population, in urbanization. And the forecast is that by 2030, more than 60% of the global world population will no longer be living in rural areas. It was never used to be that way. It's always the case that the majority of people live in rural areas. So that's a graph that just illustrates that since 2010, the numbers of people actually living in urban areas has now surpassed, you can see the crossover point somewhere there, around about 2010, when the numbers of urban dwellers globally, this is looking at it globally, it may not be the case in every single country, has surpassed those who actually live in rural areas. So what does this actually mean? It brings a lot of challenges itself. Challenges. In many of these cities that we're talking about, urban prosperity, living side by side with urban poverty. Because of huge numbers and the influx of people, this overwhelms the capacity of public services and institutions to provide the necessary services, particularly those related to water and sanitation, hygiene, and waste management. And we've got this huge ecological complex of poverty living with so-called prosperity, where separation is all an illusion, because it's really one ecological space within which these people, whether poor or wealthy, live. We've also now the phenomenon of urban and urban agriculture, and that's cities. Some cities have designated special farming areas purely for the purposes of feeding populations in large mega cities. And then there's a phenomenon of urban food waste, which in itself has led to a huge influx in terms of pests, scavengers, urban wildlife, sometimes now, in fact, wildlife who are displaced in immediate rural areas find it safer and easier to survive within urban areas of that, all of which brings increased vulnerability for all. The risks, especially of zoonotic infections and infectious diseases, are amplified by this complex of urban population growth and urbanization. But underlying all this, both in terms of population growth and urbanization, it is more food globally. If we are feeding this urbanizing population. And this is illustrated very clearly in this graph, which shows the exponential growth in the per capita consumption of animal-based foods. And you see here eggs, meat, and milk, which far surpasses the traditional roots and tubers and vegetables and other types of foods. Certainly, it used to be the case in large parts, certainly where I come from. That was predominantly vegetarian. More and more now, because of increasing urbanization, this kind of increase in consumption of animal-based proteins is apparent in most countries and regions of the world. The growth in agriculture is probably not significant of the lot. More than 50% of fish, which is consumed, comes from agriculture. Why do we highlight aquaculture? We do that because aquaculture presents a very, very unique production environment in which it is impossible to provide individual treatment for fish. And because of the intensive nature of aquaculture, the need for the usage of antimicrobials increases significantly. And we have witnessed this in recent years. It's a cheap source of protein, as cheap and easily available source of quality protein. And this trend is bound to increase in years to come. And that one just shows the increases in meat production. What is going to be required is that we're going to need to intensify. Production intensification is inevitable because with increasing population, there is no way that we can meet the demands for animal-based proteins with the current practices of extensively reared livestock. So production intensification is a reality. It's a reality that is growing in many parts of the world, especially where population growth and urbanization are highest. This is the norm, rather than the exception. And the graph that I brought there shows you some of the areas where production, the highest levels of production of beef, poultry, pig, pork are being seen globally at the moment. Production intensification and animal health aspect means of infectious and zoonotic disease emergence and potential amplification, spread, and persistence. And what does that mean? That means that the potential and the demand and the need to use antimicrobial drugs growth in tandem with that. And the evidence of that shown actually in this graph, which if you superimpose this graph on the previous one, you will find that the areas, the darker areas, which are the areas of highest current consumption of microbial drugs, are in those areas that and parts of the world where there is increase, highest rates, highest rates of intensification of animal production, highest consumption of protein-based foods at the moment. This is a work that's been done by one local. At the time I first used this slide was in development. I think the work is actually now completed, and the graph now is has much better resolution in this and shows the relationship between higher microbial usage and population growth and urbanization. What does that mean, of course? Increased use, as you may be aware, increases selection pressure. And increased selection pressure means increased risks of emergence of resistant antimicrobial agents. You know, I've used this is one of the slides I used probably 15 years ago when talking about antimicrobial resistance and the mechanisms for, you know, resistant development. And one of the publication that we did shortly after that on mechanisms for microbial resistance transfer by mobile genetic elements in plasmids. Now, let's talk about the mechanisms of antimicrobial resistance. And I just thought I should share with you this graph shows the roots down to open globally. You can see this for yourself in our supermarkets here. And if you just look at the range of foodstuffs that are bought from elsewhere, it's astounding. And it just means that right now, any issues or related food safety, which arise in any part of the world, could potentially be transported and transferred by food to other areas of the world. Time. And if you leave that alone and now look at human movement globally, this graph shows the flight paths across the globe over a 48, 24-hour period. Now, you will see that clearly we are living in a truly global world, where any kind of health risks, in this case, microbial resistance arising from one part of the world will be transmitted easily within a fairly short period of time through human travel, as well as through moving at a faster rate today than ever before. An example in point is the global spread of NDM bacteria. NDM stands for the nuclear metal beta lactamase. These are bacteria that have genes that confer them with the ability to produce beta lactamase enzymes. And the beta lactamase enzymes for the amount you here basically knocks out any microbial drug which has a beta lactam brain as part of this composition. And that means quite a huge number of classes of antimicrobials. It was first identified in 2008, and within a 2 or 3 year period, this graph is very old, it's I think it goes up to 2012, it had already covered most parts of the world. Those parts of the world, in Africa, especially in Latin America, where there are no reported cases, it's not because it doesn't exist. The capacity to detect this particular type of drugs does not exist in those countries. So now if you look at these global threats and think also about the complex epidemiology of antimicrobial resistance, which is represented by this diagram initially developed by Linton and group. And you find dimensions which encompass the human, food and agriculture and the environment domains, but also includes food processing, it includes the pharmaceuticals, the sector and industry, and water and sanitation services. You will find that we have a complex problem that requires a solution that addresses antimicrobial resistance, not on a sectoral basis, but in a holistic manner across the different domains. It's just another version of that that I provide. This is work by who mapped antimicrobial usage in humans, animals, and agriculture, and looked at the resulting dispersion of antimicrobial residues in aquatic and terrestrial environments. And the red dots there are really dispersal routes of antimicrobial residues. And that demonstrates that selection pressure exists in all these kind of environments. And therefore, the emergence of antimicrobial agents would follow the kind of pathway. Certainly, for example, in the aquatic environment, work that we've done previously in Southeast Asia shows that in the aquatic sediments of aquatic environments, such as that, you don't just find residues. This is really a concentration of resistant bacteria. And therefore, the risk of spread through fish is extremely high. Now, what is the effective for action on antimicrobial resistance? Having provided that background on global trends. This is work which was done by Professor O'Neill of the UK. Professor O'Neill is an economist. And I think any time that an economist is invited by a government to address a health-related threat, we surely are in trouble. Because economists talk about production losses, productivity losses, they talk dollars. And this is what draws the attention of governments to move. And Professor O'Neill certainly, in his findings, made some astounding predictions of where we are at and where we will be going to. First of all, he talked about a gross underestimate, 700,000 people who now try to related causes. And in this graph, he also says that by the year 2030, that figure will have grown to 10 million. And now, that completely, if you compare that to all the other causes of death, cancer, a moment that we are experiencing globally. And he said this: 300 million premature deaths will be experienced in the next 35 years if nothing is done to address the global threat of antimicrobial resistance. And the figures that really perhaps drew the attention of governments the most is the one on the right here on the impact on gross domestic product, on the global productivity, global GDP as a whole, where it predicts a reduction of at least 2.5% in global GDP, which translates into annual losses of $102 trillion. Just as look at $102 million per year. And when we talk about lost productivity, what are we talking about? It's lost productivity because of sick people, because of premature deaths, yeah, and also the impact on agriculture. Now, I've said here that the impacts on agriculture and livestock development and put a question mark. There's a lot of work that is going on to build some precise figures on the current and expected losses in food and agriculture. This haven't been quite finalized. I expect that in the next year or so, there will be quite a lot of data. And health, the environment itself, vegetable agriculture, plant production, food safety, feed safety. Feed safety is very important, of course, because it is an input into animal production. And human health, but mostly really from the food safety perspective. When we talk about the actions that are being undertaken at global level, beginning that the impetus for the current actions are really centered on the Global Action Plan on antimicrobial, which was adopted for the first time in 2015 after many years of evidence of the need for action to address antimicrobial resistance. And the Global Action Plan in itself led to the development of a number of other action plans, other international agencies and organizations AMR risks in food and agriculture. And if you go to that, you can uncover that plan. And I brought this up because I said if we're going to be talking about action, there was no need for me to reinvent the wheel. I mean, I've got other thoughts of my own, but these are ideas on the key areas of action that have been really debated and arrived at, through consensus. And of the focus of this action plan are awareness out there, with awareness involving all sectors, the veterinary, medical sector, the environment sector, members of the public, and all of other stakeholders. Because we must continue to generate evidence through research and ongoing on surveillance to really understand the magnitude of the problem that we are dealing with. Thirdly, our practices. We must change the way we do things. And I'll go into each of those a bit more detail. And as a cross-cutting issue, governance across all these different pillars that I have mentioned there. And as I said before, this is a plan which identifies those 4 pillars, and I've demonstrated and strategic plan, the strategic objectives of the Global Action Plan are first, information, education, and training, which is based on awareness. The second one is surveillance, monitoring. The third one is reduction of infection, sometimes referred to as infection. Is the first, measure of control of antimicrobial resistance. This comes from Lusaka in Zambia, where I was on Tuesday and Wednesday, and they've actually launched their global action plan. So, sorry, Zimbabwe, to launch yours, it has some years as we to it. I'd like to go through some of these actions one by one, and I'm sure that many of these will be covered in the action plan for Zimbabwe. The first one is what we've done on awareness already. And I think sometimes the biggest problem with technical we do not use the right expertise in order to develop to work awareness. And I've said that key to awareness is the need communication strategy that helps us to understand the range of audiences and the diversity of the audience that we need to reach communication messages. Once we've done that, we then need to develop the communication messages themselves. And then we've attempted to do some of these in the past year. Clearly, a lot still needs to be done. And also to identify the tools and the methods for the dissemination of these messages. In Zimbabwe, quite a lot has been done on this. I really like to hear, from during the discussion here, how we can better improve on these and the potential areas for improved awareness, at the national level. The next pillar really is on evidence, and it is evidence through surveillance and research and development. It's really one of the weakest areas in developing countries because the evidence is simply lack. It just does not exist. It does exist to some extent in the human health field. But food and culture and it is discarded. Probably sitting in academic and research institutions, and which has been done to kind of bring evidence together in one source that can be shared. So there are big gaps, and certainly there is an urgent need to engage the food and agriculture sector in addressing these gaps. Key to this will be laboratory capacity development, because once again, we just do not have the labs. Resistance, sensitivity, antimicrobial sensitivity testing is a fairly simple procedure, and yet we do lack the resources to undertake this on a routine basis. So there's an urgent need for laboratory capacity development through training and the provision of equipment, reagents, and in this regard, we have a little bit of money that we will be investing in supporting the food and agriculture sector in Zimbabwe to develop these capacities to undertake basic antimicrobial resistance testing, so that this evidence base can begin to be built. And the evidence is essential because we cannot expect action, and especially policy level interventions without the evidence. We need also to promote laboratory networks, both at the national level, but also at a regional level, to ensure that there is comparability of data on resistance at a national level as well as within the region itself. Thirdly, we need to review and update the guidance on integrated surveillance of antimicrobial resistance. Now, integrated surveillance means a number of things. One, it means that we need to be looking at all those domains and sectors that I talked about before, and to bring the data coming from all those different domains into a source where we can begin to make proper attribution and a clearer understanding of the dynamics of AMR, emergency, and spread. But also it means we must integrate and cover all the animal species, plants now increasingly, humans, as well. This is the essence of integrated surveillance. And in this regard, I think there is going to be a small project here under the advisory group on integrated surveillance of antimicrobial resistance, AGISA, in Zimbabwe, just to begin to develop some work on integrated surveillance of AMR in the country. And I'm sure that the applicants for this grant will involve institutions in this work. Fourth, I think we need to develop the methodology and tools for farm-level antimicrobials usage. You know, at the moment, the World Organization for Animal Health has a program of monitoring antimicrobial usage at the national level. But this is mostly based on sales. But sales do not translate necessarily into usage. And so we're seeking better granularity in terms of the data on usage. What is actually used, you know, in countries and in particular farming systems. There are a number of areas of new work that are also required, particularly in agriculture, which I raised as a priority area, in terms of better understanding of the pathogens in cultured fish and fishery products, as well as in the aquatic environment as a whole. And then in plant product protection, antimicrobials are used for plant diseases and pests. But there's almost no data and information on the types and the application, the methods of application, or the quantities that are in use at the moment. At the bottom there, I've just talked about laboratory capacity assessment as a means of generating the data to understand the gaps in laboratory capacity development. And in this regard, we have developed a tool referred to as Atlas, which is the assessment tool for laboratory antimicrobial resistance surveillance systems. And we'll be rolling out a program of training on this so that countries are able to undertake self-assessment and to identify gaps in laboratory capacities, but also can benefit from external assessment. I've just put up that that publication as an example of some of the kind of results of published work that should really come out of the work on evidence. And this is a must read. I put up the web link for that. It's on the drivers, dynamics, and epidemiology of AMR. This is work that we commissioned in 2014. And then I've mentioned here really partnerships, the issue of partnerships in research and development. And this is partnerships across the board with academia, with the research, and with the private sector on improved diagnostics and the development of parasite because that toolbox that I spoke about earlier is a very blunt toolbox because you can use it in a quite indiscriminate way, you know, because the opportunity is really for accurate and correct diagnosis and for rapid what we do with work of fitness, which we hope will result in the use of broad spectrum antimicrobials. If you explore humans, if you throw in malaria, you probably solve 70% of the problems without knowing what it is that you are actually treating. And also partnerships in molecular techniques, which really is the way to go now. Better understanding of genomics. The whole genome sequencing is a really new area of work, which will better understanding and characterization of resistance and factors that are responsible for resistance in particular. That's on the epidemiology of AMR. If you look at complex type of bacteria, it's only really through, you know, certifying techniques as molecular techniques that we can with the circulation of resistance organisms and factors. And then finally, is obviously new drugs development, including vaccines. And this is the objective of the Global Action Plan, which is really new business incentives for investment in new drug development. And I'll say something which is on the pharmaceutical industry. Antimicrobials actually don't make very good business. They don't make money. The money is in the product infections, really conditions. Diabetes, hypertension, and now with the increasing about antimicrobial resistance and the need now for protocols of antimicrobials to only those that are on the essential list. Pharmaceutical companies find this unnecessarily restrictive. And so what should they develop new products which are going to be sitting on shelves because we want to protect them? That's a good business for the pharmaceutical sector. So the way incentives for new product development are handled is an area that needs urgent look at. Probably it's going to require public-private partnerships where public money, this being a global public good, actually goes into research and development to support the pharmaceutical sector. I spoke earlier on about awareness. I think part of awareness is to ensure that there is voluntary compliance, that we are all better informed and therefore we take voluntary actions. But sometimes voluntary compliance is not sufficient, and there is a need for legislation and policy. And this is an area which is going to require urgent work at the national level. There's a need to identify, to assess, first of all, what is in existence in the regulatory sphere in countries, to identify the gaps in regulation, and to address some of those gaps, and to develop new legislation which addresses both antimicrobial resistance risks and promotes prudent and responsible use of antimicrobials. Finally, practices. There are a lot of very good practices which are mostly premised on good agricultural practices. And we all know that good management, hygienic and husbandry practices can go a long way in terms of disease prevention and therefore help reduce the need for the use of antimicrobial drugs. And there are a lot of those that are available now. There's a lot of guidelines for different sectors on agricultural practices, in animal production, in plant protection, in aquaculture, but there are gaps. There still are gaps. And mostly also because in animal production, we are faced with a multiplicity, not just in terms of the sheer range of species, of animal species that we are dealing with, but also in terms of production systems, which can vary even within a single country or setting. Now, if you think about it globally, it is not possible really to develop a single guideline which is applicable in every single setting around the world. So there is going to be the need to adapt these practice guidelines, good practice guidelines, so that they are usable, at the national level, and where necessary to develop new guidelines on good practices. And here I've just kind of listed some of the things that can be or could be done. mostly based on good husbandry management and hygiene practices, good agricultural practices, improved biosecurity, and also to look at alternatives to antimicrobials, such as vaccines, for example. I showed you a slide earlier about the move in terms of food products around the world. At the national level, regional and globally, there is a need to strengthen food control systems with the objective of preventing or minimizing the transmission of AMR through the food chain. And in common with all the other approaches, there is a need, obviously, for awareness, hygienic practices, for better scientific evidence, strengthening of actually national food control systems in countries, and to increase knowledge of the food safety threats and issues at a national level. A lot of work is being done at the global level, and I've listed some of the global bodies here. JECFA is, I think, the Joint Expert Committee on Food Additives. GEBRA is the Joint Expert Committee on Microbiological Risk Assessment, and so on and so on. So there's lots of work that is coming out, in terms of risk assessment globally, which will become available soon. So how do we put all this into practice? I spoke about the issue of partnerships with producers and industry. I think this is absolutely critical because no single agency on its own has the answers or can effectively implement any actions to reduce the threat of antimicrobial resistance without the cooperation of producers and industry. At the global level, there's really ongoing collaboration with the International Feed Industry Federation, for example, and the Dairy Federation. And there's a need, I think, at the national level for similar dialogue, and partnerships with producer and trade associations if we are to really effectively move forward with this. I mentioned strengthening partnerships with academia and research institutions. Enough. I also need to link with other initiatives that are ongoing already. We have the global agenda for sustainable livestock, which is looking on the livestock production landscape. What it will look like, in 50 years' time, and what the potential threats, both from a food security, but also from a climate change global perspective will be. We have the global security agenda. This is an agenda which is led by the United States, not ex-President Obama in 2013. And those who read about the Sustainable Development Goals, there are 17 goals. There are a large number of those that relate, that are relevant to antimicrobial resistance. Certainly the ones on for all, the ones for zero hunger, the ones for sustainable production systems, and on life in the marine environment, fisheries and the like. And again, in terms of putting things in practice, coordination is absolutely critical. Because, as I said before, there's so much happening. All of a sudden, there's a lot going on, and there are a lot of players out there. And without coordination, is the risk of fragmentation of the efforts that are ongoing at the moment. I'm going to go through this next two slides. That some of these actions have been already practically into action, and we have which was set up to fight malaria, TB, and HIV. and that is the Fleming Fund, which is funded by the UK government now. And the Fleming Fund is dedicated to fighting antimicrobial resistance. There will be opportunities for countries, academic institutions, and others to benefit from this fund. And I call upon you to look out for the call for proposals from the Fleming Fund. There is a fellowship scheme that for young professionals who have a particular interest in the area of AMR under the Global Fund. This will be funded fellowships, which will be implemented in partnership with academic institutions. And finally, this is the final part of my presentation, which I'd like to go through quite quickly. I'd like to talk about really the need for this paradigm shift from the business as usual approach that we have had in the past to this new so-called One Health approach. I hope that most of you have heard about this. You know, at the global level, this was reflected in a resolution of the United Nations General Assembly, which has called upon the tripartite comprising of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, the OIE, and other organizations for development and implementation of national action and AMR activities at national, regional, and global levels. What grew out of, and I should call it that now, which has been developing over the last 15 years or so, mostly in response to a number of pandemic zoonotic threats that have arisen at the human animal ecosystem interface. And the emergence of a number of these threats, disease emergency. The biggest, just a couple of years back in West Africa, SARS, which is the respiratory syndrome, and many others, remind us of the persistent threat of emergence and the emergence of zoonotic diseases. Pandemic threats arose. The thinking around the need for collaborative and interdisciplinary work to address this threats across the human, animal, environment, and ecosystems, interfaces, and species. And lessons learned from the response to these global pandemic threats are certainly applicable. This is a schematic diagram which I took from that publication, People, Pathogens in Our Planet, towards the One Health approach to controlling zoonotic diseases, published again by the World Bank. You know, and as I said, when you get bankers and economists getting interested in issues, then you know we're talking about serious things indeed. And in that, they say we need to transition from this classical approach that we have always had, where different threats, disease threats, are addressed by the different sectors in their own sectoral silos, if you like, you know. And the questions they're always asking is, what do I have to do? Does it have anything to do with me? Is it my job? About it, you know, let the medics come and deal with it. And we need to transition from that to a scenario where we are asking the question, what do we need to do to address this threat? And this is the business of interdisciplinary and cross-sectoral approach, where we're working across sectors and ministries and institutions address different and that schematic basically demonstrates what this should be. And the foundation of that is a coordinating mechanism, a strong coordinating mechanism. And I think with what this is about now in the form of the core team, which has actually been to coordinate all actions resistance. We can now surveillance information share on coordinated response and on collaborative research. These are key.
Thank you very much, Dr. Otto. I think that was quite a walk through a very elaborate and in-depth expose on the topic of antimicrobial resistance. And he took us through the history, where we are coming from, the concerns of today, the various drivers that exist, the options that we have, the tool that we have, the One Health tool, to try and address the problem. And it's up to us now to see how we can show, our digestion of all this, and as a profession, as a veterinary profession, and as collaborators in One Health, how we can commit ourselves to doing something about it for Zimbabwe as part of the collection of nations around the world who are committed to working towards mitigating the onslaught of antimicrobial resistance in our midst. So I guess he can receive some questions or comments. Then we can see how we can contribute to the conclusion that remains pending. Any comments?
My name is Dr. Segisei Ziluira. I'm the coordinator of antimicrobial resistance in the Zimbabwe antimicrobial resistance core group. which consists of 18 members and from all various sectors of, like from the Ministry of Environment, from the University of Zimbabwe, so it's, and even from private sector, from different sectors. So the one main thing is that it's so important that we really get on this global place. It's fun now, but I don't want to be hospital, and you're given all the antibiotics, and none of them are working. I mean, it is already starting to happen. This is actually happening, and we really don't know. And according to the situation analysis that we did, we really saw that everybody is a culprit of causing antimicrobial resistance. Whether the general public, they don't finish their antibiotics. Just because they start feeling well, they don't finish them. Whether it's the laboratory, they're busy doing sensitivity tests on antibiotics that are not even available in the hospital. When the pharmacists they're not supposed to be sold to the people there. Just because right now, they want to sell them and say, those something, even injectables. Whether it's the doctors, veterinary medicine, general things, and describing to people. So if system. And I like that now we are starting, we want the proposal for the capacity. We are working together with the Central Veterinary Laboratory, National Veterinary, and the government analyst, which also deals with food. And let's start with some things like someone like those and do just a simple surveillance. And then later on with time, when we also get into genomics and also work together with the universities. And I actually get that the students are also, working together. They also as one year. I remember on the antibiotic day way back in November, veterinary students, medical students, 15 different groups actually got together and commemorated this day, and we supported them. Even on the vet AMR day, vet students were together with the medical students. So let's just keep up this good momentum, and and work as one year in order to help this antimicrobial resistance. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Zinyawera. The lady in the corner.
Question okay?
Yes.
Yeah. I just want to find out if I can ask the question, not video.
Go ahead.
Thank you, sir, Dr. Watt, for your comprehensive presentation. Really enjoyed it. I just wanted to find out if there is a case of success in resource-constrained countries regarding disposal of antimicrobials. I just wanted to find, because in most of the discussions I've heard, most people say disposal is really a big issue. So I don't know if you've got a case study or a bit of information which can add to
disposal in what context?
Well, there's an issue of when antimicrobials have expired, how do you dispose of them? Or whatever is left in the house, it has not expired, but the stuff that you have, or the disease, someone is deceased, or an animal has just died, but you still have antimicrobials. They can be used, they're still within before expiry period, but now whoever is supposed to be consuming them is not here. So what do you do in such cases? When it regards disposal, how do you get rid of it, rather than just
Perhaps we take a few and then you can respond. Can we have another one? Okay, right in the middle.
Thank you, Dr. Goto. This is more like a question. I'm interested in maybe getting what we can call maybe a plan that we have, because I realize this is a very critical element that we need to do, to work on. You talked about farm level AMR, but I broadly want to look at it as community level AMR. How early are we going to be in a position to see this happening? I'm a community member, and I have seen information, I have get access to information on HIV, on malaria. When you get to the clinic, there are posters, plenty of them. You talk of posters on TB, posters on HIV, and I mean, these are issues that we are talking about on a day-to-day basis, and people tend to know. But when it comes to AMR, I haven't seen maybe the involvement, the publicity that we are seeing with other issues that are affecting the community. And more importantly, I think one of the issues that you made reference to, the classical way of doing things and the integrated way of doing things. And we find, for instance, that the issues of malaria, TB, HIV, they are very clear, loud and clear, because actually the Ministry of Health largely is driving the process. And now, given the integrated nature of issues that are related to AMR, how easy is it going to be for community to have access to this information? Because I believe that it is at shop floor level that issues of AMR have to be discussed, because almost everyone now is a vet surgeon in a sense when you go to the community. People want to do their own things. For instance, there's not to them issues to do with cost, but issues also to do with convenience. So how soon, how quickly are we going to get to the communities to make sure that we also do the same awareness?
Thank you. And we have another comment.
Thank you, Dr. Otto, for the presentation, which excited us as well. I want to believe that.
Do you want to
sorry.
Introduce yourself? I think we have done that.
Okay, let me stand up. I'm used to standing up. My name is Dr. Jonathan Mufanga. I'm the CEO and Chief Executive and the Registrar of the National Biotechnology Authority of Zimbabwe. When you talked about globalization and that mesh of probably aircraft, traversing the atmosphere from one region to the other, it captured, it really excited me, most because as a regulator, I'm saying what role I play in the initiative of your last slide might sort to convince me when you say, let's collaborate more so the effects of in our communities. So from a regulatory perspective to say, are all the regulators really moving towards an integrated health approach towards curtailing the effects of AMR resistance which is coming through? And more importantly, do we have the capacity? You made reference to the laboratory infrastructure. It's not the usual lab infrastructure that you sometimes need, because AMR may be triggered by new and emerging technologies that are influencing plant breeding. Of a state of art, which we call in our context the national capacity level 1, level 2, level 4. These are level of instructions which will afford the researchers, risk assessors to work under safely, so that they are in fact not affected by such items. So as a heavy also to the systems for lab work, monitoring and surveillance. And I want to urge Dr. Sai here that it has these existing funding streams. Thank you very much.
Thank you for my answer while sitting down. I'll start off with the question from the young lady. If I understood you, I think you were asking about examples, good practice in terms of sport or antimicrobial. Is that right?
For where we can learn.
Right.
Easier methods that work for countries like ourselves.
This is developing countries. And all countries that I know in the developing countries that have any kind of schemes at all for effective and safe disposal of antimicrobial drugs. Not just disposal from domestic setting where someone, uses antimicrobials so better doesn't use the rest. And all this, of course, ends up in our waste, and eventually probably, into wastewater and the like. But I can give you some examples of initiatives in a number of European countries where pharmacists are actually required to maintain a return box in their pharmacies. To come back and return any unused antimicrobials to these pharmacies so they can be disposed of safely. But of course, the other with the disposal of medicines is also the issue related to waste, the treatment of waste, because there is a assumption by waste waste that is disposed of to water bodies may include residues of antimicrobial drugs. And there are a number of regulatory initiatives, certainly in developed countries, under the framework of what's referred to as an integrated protection control, to ensure that they have a detailed explanation of all the contents and levels of different pollutants which are being disposed of in the environment. And there's strict penalties for exceeding those activities. Those are the kind of things that can be done that's really applicable mostly in industry. I a very simple way, an initiative similar to what I said before from domestic supplies, which is returning to the hospital, returning to the pharmacy, where it can be disposed of safely. Awareness. I think this is really important because it's more from this type of intervention that we can influence the adoption of good practices at the farm level. This is still very much work is in on how we market it. There is the need, I think, when we talk about this integrated approach, I probably presentation more science. Talk about communication, about sociologists, and people who develop the kind of and methods which can be best reach this kind of topics. And learn from some of the initiatives you mentioned on HIV, for example, how they are able to raise awareness at community level. Carefully. I think this is really work that is necessary. That we need to do. And the final question from the CCTO, National Biotechnology Institute. I think the number of regulatory mechanisms, if you like. Many of them are housed under the work, for example, what it is, which is a globally recognized body on food safety and standards issues, and they develop standards on residues, of compounds, in food, and also work on standards, both the types of foods, and both and undertake and also risk assessment for particular food pathogen combinations. There are a huge array of guidelines on those, and it really has to be done at the level of global trade, which is regulated by the World Trade Organization, and the Codex Alimentarius Commission is a representative entity with food safety and standards. Where animal trade in animals is something, of course, which are the correct standards. And there are quite elaborate governance systems and also systems. The responsibility, the primary responsibility, to restrict trade where it is required for public health within your country. Of course, the dispute mechanisms exist to resolve the in one of the initiatives under the global program I mentioned is on the development of laboratory networks, both at national level and also on a regional level. It's not going to be possible to raise the capacities of all laboratories. There is a kind of excellence and correct laboratories. required to attain. In my view, and isolation and perhaps capacity to store isolates. Even if they cannot now do more of the sophisticated work, if they can store isolates, that can then be identify more sophisticated countries. So this work is going to be done in Zimbabwe to identify the countries across the different domains, human health, animal health, plant protection, and food safety, etc. And I think that certain individuals are taking note of that will be involved in this kind of consultation. Thanks. I think that answers.
Yeah, thank you. Any more comments, questions?
Thank you very much for such an elaborate presentation. Of each operational officer for National Center. Question or comment is going to be around the area that we illicit trade in the province. I've seen that with the past border that we have, there was a large volumes, and it's a challenge that needs to be especially the COVID that is yes. I've also seen that the actual capacity to monitor the sale and use of antimicrobials to be we don't expect who are going around checking that people are using these antimicrobials the right way. Sometime in 2016, I had the opportunity to be in presentation where presentation from someone from talking about how manage this problem when there was such a huge which was not really about is the fact that their production remained the same. They managed to reduce consumption at national level, but their going up. Is what is exported, and also the receiving of this programs, and we are doing possible really a huge challenge. Thank you.
Let's introduce yourself.
Thank you, Dr. Undergrad by Kenya, my first year. And I had some questions, because you mentioned that testing is mainly considered new methods and new approaches. I was wondering, would it be possible, this would be a question, would it be possible for resistant to go full circle as in being resistant to one antibiotic, and then evolving antibiotics, it loses its resistance to the first one. So as research still those approaches, and so the research also becomes manipulating the way they treat before, and so you could use a combination of old that you That's
Thank you. Just going to let in the comment. Thank you very much, PD. My name is to see the issue in the formulations of the national strategy.
yes, the processing of presents a particular threat. It presents a economic threat, and this is really why it's the need to look at this not just at the national level, but also interventions, at the regional level. There are a number of initiatives right now which are being here. One of those initiatives is the harmonization of regulation of veterinary drugs. And finally, this is really in recognition of the quality of our borders, where actual legislation regulation really is important. And so the objective is to develop guidelines at the regional level, which can then be domesticated at the national level, so there is equivalence, between the different countries in terms of drugs regulation, and also the recognition by each SADC member state of the of the regulations that are developed in other member states. This is, I think, work which MCAS is very, very closely involved with. And this also, I think, goes to the second question which you asked on the capacity monitoring. That again is an MCAS role and responsibility. Is there anybody from MCAS here? Yes, I think you can probably answer that. I'm sure, like, this is a challenge. Regulation is not an easy thing. I'm sure they've got a lot of regulatory tools at their disposal to use penalties, as well. But it's never simple. But I'm sure that he can give us a more precise answer of, what regulatory tools they have there at their disposal. You mentioned the success story from the Netherlands. It's a story that has been told quite a lot. It used to be the case that this was said to be the main incentive for other countries to adopt similar measures. But really, the Netherlands is the Netherlands, and we need to take their example, and look at that against our own context in our countries here. It may not necessarily be possible to replicate exactly what they have done over there. But I do take your point that it is quite possible that because of the reduced usage of antimicrobials, the incentive for them and for their pharmaceutical industries now to look for markets elsewhere does exist. Again, that's a regulatory issue, at the national level. The young gentleman, the biochemistry student, asked about whether resistance is reversible. I'm not aware that that the kind of mutations and that confer resistance on particular bacteria are well, it's certainly an area. It's an interesting idea, which probably is a research question. And certainly the work that the initiatives that are being developed now on sequencing and whole genome sequencing to better characterize resistance could provide some of those answers in the future to see whether it is possible historically to detect a reversal of that kind of process. But I can't refer you to any specific work or studies on that. But it's certainly an area of new work. Yes, and I totally agree with the lady that aquaculture is a priority area. I believe that we have fisheries involved in the core team, which is working on the National Action Plan. And they have certainly been involved in it. I told Dr. Zimbabwe respond now, but I'm sure that any other member could confirm that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sure they are involved.
This is an idea which I would like to put to the team, because I think we are a bit limited on aquaculture, and I think we need to engage you doctors so that you can join the team as well, since you are the specialist in aquaculture in Zimbabwe.
Dr. Wapeta, do you want to address that point on regulation, regulatory oversight?
Thank you, KD, and thank you, Dr. Otto, for the presentation. Regarding the issue of regulation, that one I think also Dr. Otto had given already a very good response to say that yes, we have regulations, we have porous border posts. The thing is people get antibiotics which are not prescribed by vets. The animals have not been diagnosed, they start using those antimicrobials. So when it comes to the enforcement, we are limited in terms of numbers. We cannot be there on the ground every time the antimicrobials are being used. But what we have done is we have participated in the awareness. For some members of the profession, you will be aware that we had support from FAO, and we had those sessions in Harare and Malawi where we brought in the field veterinarians and we discussed the issue of AMR. So that was at least to talk to the professionals. And those professionals, when they go to the provinces, they will be also trying to lead the community in the proper use of antimicrobials. But I think when we look at the structure of our agricultural sector at the moment, it is easy for a farmer to go to a shop, buy the medicines, bypassing the vet. So those are some of the issues which MCS and DVS are going to look into to make sure that we tighten the access to antimicrobials. So this is like some work in progress. It has come out in the situational analysis and we'll find ways of strengthening it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any more pressing comments? There's one there.
Thank you. My name is Frank. I wanted to just say on the issue of identifying the cause. I think it is necessary that we identify the cause first, rather than to put some negative statements to say that everyone is a cause. Because it is really necessary to identify the cause so that we can have some tangible sustainable solutions to the issue of antimicrobial resistance. So I think in our situation analysis, we need to really identify the cause of the issue. Now, to Dr. Otto, I just wanted to ask you to what extent as far as the lead agents for food and agriculture has invested or has made some empowerment mechanisms in the veterinary fraternity to fight antimicrobial resistance. Thank you.
Okay, any other? We should be winding up now. That will be the last comment or question. Okay.
Okay. Yes. The question on culprits. Yes. I thought I don't know if you are here at the very beginning of a presentation when I tried to demonstrate of antimicrobial resistance. Which really makes it extremely difficult to identify a particular culprit. Because in a sense, I think what Dr. Zimbabwe was saying, that we are all culprits in one way or another. It's really because of this complexity in the sense that resistance can develop and move so freely across these different domains, between species, between countries, from person to person, hospitals and communities, from people through food, from animals, and etc. So it's very difficult to really apportion blame. We found this a very self-defeating argument in some ways, because we started work, it was, it's the fault of the best, because you use the most antimicrobials. The problem with antimicrobials is a simple problem. You see animals that are not sick. Simply because you might treat individual animals. So you're responsible. Thankfully, I think now, with the better understanding of the complexity of this kind of blame, and rising of one profession against another, or one discipline against another, has receded. But it has really receded considerably. I think look at this as a public health problem, community health problem, and not look at apportioning or pinpointing in professions or individuals or sectors. And we will work to address the problem. Of course, that doesn't mean that we don't target more actions at those stages. And that's really the purpose of risk assessments, which is really fundamental to understanding and better targeting of the actions that we take, so that the areas of risk are the ones that are dealt with. In AMR related work, I don't know if we're talking about monitoring in dollar terms. Was sorry? Yes, you asked a question of your.
Yes, the problem that you are free with
Oh God, sorry, I can't quantify that. I can't quantify that in real investment. But we work very closely with the work which is really the lead agency in terms of But see, one kind of organization is more understanding. When it comes to the field implementation of programs, this is where they want to. And so, if you talk about the big programs on eradication, control, and prevention of animal diseases, most of that work is undertaken by the FAO with oversight. I'll point you to success stories. You have known, you probably have studied database, I'm sure. If you're a veterinary student, yeah, database is now. And then the work was actually led by the FAO. Now we have a global program to eradicate peste infectiva ruminal, PPR, in small ruminants. And the investment goes into the hundreds of millions of dollars to eradicate the disease. But, on a daily basis, we are dealing with outbreaks of foot and mouth disease, CPPP, Rift Valley fever. I'm sorry, I think my colleagues from the Department of Livestock and Veterinary will, we are involved in Zimbabwe. But I show it's concerned. But it's not just work. Any of the work, on and prevention diseases necessarily also requires strengthening of veterinary systems and and surveillance systems and all that kind of thing. So that is all as part of these global efforts.
I we will all be continuing this discussion afterwards because you can continue to discuss with your but with FAO we had a long number of years of assistance, and as you know, American say FAO is an international development agency of the United Nations. So from period to period, they are running programs, especially in the properties. They assisted us with FMD control, vaccine supply, anthrax control, rabies control, and also we want to have to eradicate rabies 2030. That's waiting care 2030. Similarly, also to reduce the risk of FMD in the years to come. So we are working, and I think it's the same that happens in most countries, because most countries of the world belong to FAO, and you can continue to discuss with him. I also wanted to add that I think antimicrobial resistance is a natural phenomenon. It occurs naturally. What is happening is that we are putting pressure on microbes to develop resistance faster than they should. So, it is that responsibility that we are carrying, and we are being asked to reduce it or reduce the pace that resistance. So, as a play, each time we are allowing lay persons to use antimicrobials without knowing exactly what they are doing, or without asking them or advising them about withdrawals, or getting them into situations where they will dilute or undertreat cases. We are actually reneging in that responsibility. So some of these are related to Dr. mentioned about the need to re-examine how that oversight of veterinarians can be improved so that we can slow down the development of AMR. I think that's really our responsibility in the veterinary. I think also equally in the opportunity they have the responsibilities in the what we are trying to do in the joint action plan, in the national action plan, is that we should see convergence of those efforts towards the ability of reducing total in total the development of antimicrobial resistance. So I think we've had a very fruitful discussion, and it is need to thank my colleague and friend, Dr. Patrick, for dedicating with us on this event of the World I really want to thank you. Let's start a relationship where we can always invite you. You heard about the offers that are already coming through. Young veterinarians getting jobs, they're getting opportunities. There are some openings that exist. You keep eyes open to some of the current things that are happening. You can pick somewhere where you can fit and actually create an career in academia or with us in services. So, you know, let's keep talking. This is only one of the avenues. The other ones is the CPD that is run by the profession, is the Veterinary Association together with the council. So let's use those opportunities to develop ourselves career-wise. Let me also thank the Faculty of Veterinary Science through the Dean and the superiors in the university for us to use these beautiful facilities to hold this event. We're very grateful for your understanding and facilitation. And also, we had some in the past and continue to enjoy that accommodation from which is great. I would also like to extend my thanks to those who organized this event. We had a committee led by Dr. Ndlovu. Dr. Ndlovu is our OID focal point for communications. So she's working very closely with the team from one area where we are also getting classes. We are enjoying that support together with the communications unit. Thank you very much for actually thinking of the activity like this and making it work. And Dr. is part of the team and is leading the effort for the next round of projects. I'd also like to thank some of the working behind the scenes for anyone who has had a part to play in this. Thank you so much. And our cameraman, I think he's part of you. Thank you so much. I understand this is on I hope that other colleagues who couldn't come can have been watching or can still watch it later. Just spread it around, they can see it on YouTube. Thanks to everyone. So thank you so much those who are driving out of town. Please drive safely. I think there is tea and refreshments provided, but thank you very much.